Good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rose Darren, and I am the owner of a naturopathic clinic, Rose Naturopathic Medicine, here in Adelaide. And I'm joined with Tony Stevens, who is a Reiki healer and owns her own business in North Adelaide, Tony's Healing Room.
Yeah.
So we will be discussing all things gut health and anxiety and stress related today, and how I interpret it from a naturopathic point of view, and then how Tony interprets it from a energetic point of view. So we're going to be having an in-depth discussion on how they relate and really influence each other. So I first wanted to get started about each of our own journey and story of how we got to where we are in the healing and health space. So Tony, do you want to get started and tell us a little bit about how you have gotten to where you are today?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Um, so I am a healer and an energy coach. And so my journey really started like in high school. I was really interested in meditation and spirituality and religion and yeah, like all creative things. And I started meditating and channeling really young and just had some really amazing experiences. And then when I finished school, I went to art school, and a lot of my work was based on the mind-body connection. And so after that, I wanted to find an alternative therapy that dealt with the mind-body connection. And so I found shiatsu and traditional Chinese medicine, and I started studying that. And when I was working, they were like, feel the chi flowing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because we don't talk about chi, we don't talk about
Yeah.
energy, and growing up in Australia.
Yes.
And so they said, go and do a Reiki course. So I went and did Reiki 1 or 2, and I absolutely was totally blown away. It was just so affirming for me, and that everything that I felt to be true about life and energy was like actually real. Like this is a thing. Like people actually, I can work with energy. I can feel energy. Like it has, vibrational frequency, and it's a scientific phenomenon. Like it's
Yeah.
actually true and real. And that was just so affirming for me, and everything like about who I was and what I believed in my experience of life was amazing. So yeah, that was in my early 20s.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so that was my first part of my, life. And then
Yeah.
came back to my healing work after I had kids in my late 30s. So now yeah, I've been working in this healing and coaching space for the last 9 years, I guess.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, well, that definitely sounds like you've had a whole journey from such a young age, and you've evolved it into a really amazing business now. And I know you've got other practitioners working in your clinic space as well. So you've got a wide modality of things going on there as well. So
Yes.
that's
How about
beautiful.
you, Rose? Tell me about
Um,
your healing journey.
yeah, so I I became in high school, I was quite overweight. So I became quite interested in nutrition and physical health and diet and lifestyle and those sort of things. So I made quite a few changes there, where I was able to lose quite a bit of weight. And then at the end of uni, I didn't actually know what a naturopath was. I hadn't, not at the end of uni, at the end of high school, sorry. I didn't know what a naturopath was. And I knew that I was very interested in nutrition. So I was considering studying to become a nutritionist. However, then someone said to me, why don't you look into naturopathic medicine? And like I said, I didn't know what that was. So I looked into it, went to the first open day, and I was just blown away how involved it was, how holistic it was, basically, compared to a lot of Western medicine and how we're taught and raised today. So the fact that you were focusing on herbal medicine, nutritional medicine, diet, lifestyle, and combining it all to really investigate the root cause of disease or illness, I thought was such a wonderful thing. And I thought that was a really, just so powerful to be able to work so holistically. So I studied my degree. Throughout that, very early on, I then got into my first relationship, and that's where I started to notice, like, obviously when you first fall in love, your emotions are very up and down. It's like a lot of endorphins and hormones and everything going on with those falling in love. And I noticed that I started to experience a lot of symptoms like, crying spells, anxiety, low moods, rage, low self-esteem. I wouldn't be able to handle any criticism. I would get extreme body aches, all these sort of things where I really felt like I was going through an emotional turmoil. And I knew something wasn't right, that I was experiencing such a roller coaster of emotions. And so after a little bit of time, I was like, what is going on with me? What is happening? And it was really starting to affect my relationship. So it was taking quite a bit of a toll. And, some weeks I would be really good. I would have a great routine, be eating well, sleeping well, feeling mentally stable. And then, like, within a few days, I would just feel like someone had completely taken over me, and I had like no control over myself and my emotions and the things I would say and how I'd feel. I just felt completely taken over. And eventually I realized that it was in sync with my menstrual cycle. So when I would be from ovulation to menstruation, that's when the symptoms would occur. And then 2 weeks before that, I would feel quite normal and like my usual self. So after lots of Googling, I came across PMDD. So that's short for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which I then later got diagnosed officially. And I've really just, because of the how much it affected me and almost ruining me, I've really made it my passion now to focus on women's health, and then gut health is a huge passion of mine as well. So then I finished my degree and I became a qualified naturopath and have my own business now, where I really get to support women with women's health and also gut health. So, and I've also over the years, dedicated myself to really thoroughly understanding the condition and researching and trial and error, and have found incredible healing and improvement in that area. So just happy that I can now help other women and be able to support them too.
Yay, what an empowering story.
Yes.
Like, it's so good when you can heal yourself, isn't it? Like,
yes, definitely.
Health. Like, it's just,
and I feel like it really drives, you become so passionate about it, and it really drives you to want to help others and spread that information that you've learned and experienced as well. So so now that we've got a bit of a backstory on both of our journeys to health and healing, I wanted to ask you, how do you interpret gut health and anxiety, and how do you find that they relate to each other in your from your point of view as a healer and Reiki healer?
Yeah. So I'll just talk about it from my own experience of having anxiety, which started in my early 20s, simply from, being in that 9 to 5 work environment, in an office, sitting down, not moving my body, but also being in a probably, a not so great relationship, and just feeling the stress of both of those things, of being like in that unhappy place. The anxiety, the stress started to affect my body, and it started showing up as symptoms of nausea and gut pain.
Yes.
and some heart, like chest pain stuff as well. But extremely tired. And would get home from work and I would just have to go straight to sleep. And
That's all right. That's okay.
So from that, like I was trying to change my diet. I was looking at things around gut health to try and work on that gut pain and nausea, which was absolutely debilitating for me. Like I would be like in agony, like bent over. Yeah, and anyway, and then I went to the GP and got a diagnosis of anxiety. And I didn't want to take antidepressants, which is what they were offering. And so I was just like, no, that's fine. Like I was absolutely blown away that I had anxiety. But it confirmed for me again, like that whole mind-body connection, like
you can't dismiss it.
Yeah, like my mind is affecting my body and it's making me feel nauseous and pain and tired. And it just blew me away, like that amazing connection that our mind and body has with our energy. So yeah, what I'm really passionate about these days is empowering people with their emotions, because at the base of anxiety is fear, right? This stress response and this fear that shows up in the body. And so I love teaching people about emotion so that we can start, really just recognizing it and processing it and releasing it and learning from it, because so that's what, sorry to answer your question specifically.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
That's what gut health is to me, right? Is this having this beautiful, calm energy where your gut feels relaxed and it can be in a sympathetic nervous system in homeostasis and just rest and digest.
Yeah, beautiful.
As opposed to being in like fight or flight and a fear freeze response where we contract and a tightness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. And I guess I imagine that a lot of emotions would then be stored in the body if they're not properly processed or released, and then can lead to other imbalances and things like that as well, I'm assuming, from your point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So tell me about your and obviously I am a holistic person, so I believe that working with a naturopath and using food or supplements to help with the gut health is good as well. So
so obviously as a naturopath, I think I've spoken to you briefly about this before, but in my degree, we really focused, like it's meant to be a holistic form of medicine. So, mind, body, spirit, address those aspects. However, in my degree, we definitely covered the body, we definitely covered the mind. However, I really felt like the spirit wasn't really included throughout my degree. Perhaps possibly with flower essences, which is something I do have in my clinic too, because they can work on that energetic. They work on that energetic level. So flower essence does kind of address that area there. But other than that, I don't really feel like there was that bit added in. And as I was seeing, more and more women, I was really feeling like there was something missing, like especially with things like women's health, where it is that reproductive area, where it is that womb area, there's a lot of energy being held, and it's a really sacred part of the body as well. So I just felt like, okay, I'm doing the physical stuff, I'm doing the emotional stuff. So now I guess, as a part of my evolution as a naturopath and business, I've been working with like a mentor to help bring in that spiritual, energetic side to things as well, which I've started to do, and it's crazy how much of a difference you can see in the outcome of healing when you are really bringing that area in and addressing that area. Because unfortunately in a lot of circles, it's quite overlooked. So I think it's so important to have these discussions to really talk about how important that spiritual side is to healing. But basically, what I guess very similar to you with the gut anxiety connection. So from a naturopathic point of view, the gut and brain talk to each other directly through something called the vagus nerve. So this is something where they are continuously communicating and sending information to one another. So if someone's experiencing, let's say, anxiety or stress, for example, that will directly affect the gut, like what you experienced with all the digestive symptoms, and then vice versa. So if there's an imbalance within the digestive tract, then that will inherently then affect the nervous system and possibly someone's mental health. So they really affect each other and influence each other. So I guess I could talk about a couple of the ways they are connected from like a biological standpoint, if
Yep,
you'd like.
absolutely. Share with us
Sure.
about the vagus nerve,
Yeah,
please. I
yeah.
love hearing about it.
So basically, you already kind of got into the whole sympathetic dominance. So, when we are stressed and anxious, our nervous system can fall within that sympathetic dominant state. So that's basically where we go into that fight or flight area. And that's when our body will begin to send, the blood that was focusing on our organs, it will actually send it to our extremities and get it ready to fight or flight rather than focusing on our digestive tract. Our lungs will expand, our pupils will dilate, like we're getting ready to fight or flight. So, when that happens, that can take a toll on our digestive tract. So that can, for example, mess with the rate of how quickly food is moving throughout the digestive tract, which can then influence how well you're absorbing your nutrients, for example. So it's really important I guess our aim is to try and be, like you said, in that nice parasympathetic state, which is like that rest and digest where our body is calm and feeling safe, so the blood can be focusing on the organs and everything, all the bodily functions can be processing efficiently. Another thing is, I guess, our microbiome. So a lot of our neurotransmitters are actually produced by the bacteria in our digestive tract. So one of the main ones I would say is serotonin, which everyone's quite familiar with. So that's like our happy hormone. It's responsible for stabilizing our mood. And it's also, being implicated in things like depression and anxiety and PTSD and things like that. So up to 80% of serotonin is produced by the bacteria in our gut. So that
Wow.
really, yeah. So that really goes to show how important it is to support our gut health, to support then a healthy, to support our mental health. And another hormone, which is one of my favorites for women, is GABA. So GABA is another neurotransmitter, and that one's really helpful for reducing anxiety, calming our nervous system, helping us tolerate stress better. Yeah, so it's a beautiful, nourishing neurotransmitter for women
I
and
haven't
men.
heard of GABA before. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. So GABA is also heavily produced by the bacteria in our gut as well. So if we do not have a right combination, of healthy bacteria within our gut, that's going to influence the production of neurotransmitters. So we really want to focus on having a healthy and diverse microbiome. And then I guess another big link between our gut and our nervous system is inflammation. So if there's, some sort of imbalance within the digestive tract and that's causing low grade chronic inflammation, that inflammation can actually cross our blood brain barrier and enter the brain. And we know that inflammation has also been associated with things like depression and anxiety. So I could go on with all the links between the gut and the brain.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on, but I'd say that's a few of the staple ones of how they are really connected and influence one another.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about like the idea of safety. Like, so when I spoke about anxiety being fear,
Mm,
um, so this idea that of bringing safety into our body and our energy so that our body can and our brain can function more efficiently is
mm,
when we are in this anxious state. Like you said, like the blood gets taken from our brain and our gut and
mm,
gets sent to our heart, right? So, our digestive system is not functioning properly, but also our brain isn't functioning.
yes.
So that's when we can get caught in these brain fog or negative thought loops and just not thinking clearly and not being able to make good decisions for ourselves and being
Mm,
confused. So safety is so important. And when we're feeling unsafe, like it comes from, like, our modern world is so busy
yes,
that it's
yes.
really hard for us not to feel stressed all the
Yeah.
time, right?
And we're so overstimulated.
Really overstimulated and we're just information is coming at us all the
Yeah.
time. And like we're just addicted to our phones and our
Yes.
screens. And it's really hard not to check them, or
Hmm.
look at
Hmm.
them all the time. So that's another form of stress, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, I need to check it. Like it's not just a matter of getting the information as well that we're looking at or that we're
Mm,
taking in, but it's also like that fear or that need. Oh, I have to check it because I might be missing
mm.
out on something. Um, so that FOMO stuff comes in as
Yeah.
well, right? So, yeah, what was I saying about? Oh, gone off, I've gone off my topic.
That's okay.
Um,
I completely agree with you there with the
so
we are so we are so overstimulated and um you know, you've got even thinking of it from an energetic point of view, if you're on the phone, you're being exposed to so many things from, things that are occurring across the world, your
yeah,
friends, your family, people you don't know, you're being exposed to all these different things, all these different emotions, and you're taking that on energetically. Back in the day, you would just be focused on the present moment, what you have to do in front of you, what you've got to get done. Now
yeah,
you're exposed to, the TV, the radio, your phone, everything that's going on elsewhere, and that can also really take you away from that present moment. And I do think a lot of anxiety is our brains have been so wired to not be in the present moment. We're either in the past where that depression then comes in, or we're thinking of the future, and that's where the anxiety comes in. So it's like, what do I have to do later? What am I going to cook for dinner? What about next week? I'm stressed about this. What about, like constantly this thinking, just not in that present moment. And I think that's, more of a societal problem. But I think
really,
bringing that attention to that area, that we need to really, I think, practicing working on being in that present moment through healing, meditation, energetics can be really beneficial.
yeah. So yeah, being in the present moment, it's so important. And I'm so passionate about teaching people meditation
Mm.
and doing it in really easy ways that just become a part of your life, like, and make it really enjoyable.
Mm.
And we love being in that space because it is really blissful and peaceful when you can find a meditation practice that suits you. So there are lots of different techniques that you can do or different meditations that you can listen to that allow your body to come back into this beautiful feeling of peace and safety. And safety is really what it is, right?
Mm.
Feeling
Yes.
peaceful, we're feeling safe, and our body is like resting and digesting.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, one of the easiest ways that I teach beginners to meditate is candle gazing. or
Oh, wow. I
yeah,
haven't, is that where you're just watching the flame? I
yeah,
haven't heard of that one too much.
yeah. So open eye meditation is great for beginners because when you close
Okay.
your eyes, you can get so bombarded with your thoughts and your feelings. So
Yeah.
open eye is really cool for beginners, well for anyone, but it's really powerful. And so candle gazing, obviously, you're like your eyes just drawn right to the flame. So
Mm.
it's beautiful. And also cloud gazing.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, and you can do that anywhere at any time. You can do it
Yeah.
like just sitting in your office chair. You can do it like laying out with kids or, just sitting in your car or laying on a couch looking out the window, like wherever you are, like you should be able to look
Mm.
out a window, if not go outside and look at
Yes,
clouds
yes.
for 5 minutes.
That's funny you say that because whenever I'm, lighting a candle, I always and I'm watching the flame, I find it so hypnotizing. Like I just get
It is.
lost in like watching the flame flicker. So yeah, I can definitely see why that would be a good practice to start doing.
Yeah,
Um,
and just 5 minutes a day is like amazing results. At 5 minutes a day, you know, even if you just sat here for 1 minute and like just focus on your breath,
hmm.
we can do that. It's so easy. For 1 minute, you feel so much better and so much calmer. Um, amazing. Imagine if you did 5 minutes a day.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And I really feel like the more you practice it, when you do find your mind wandering or not being in the present, then you're more likely to catch on to that and see it happening. So then you can bring that your attention back to that present moment. So it's like almost like muscle memory you're practicing
Exactly.
the more you do it. So I was wondering, I'm really interested in how, if you want to talk a little bit about how you actually feel the energy when you're doing your Reiki healing and how that feels to you. Do you feel, is it like you feel some stagnation? Do you feel some sort of imbalance? How is that experience for you?
Yeah, so what I'm doing Reiki, I am what I call clairsentient. So you would
Mm-hmm.
have heard of the five clairs. So there's like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience is clear feeling.
Beautiful.
So I feel the energy with my hand. So I'm feeling it like if I've got my hand on someone's body or if I've just got it in their aura, I can feel
Mm.
the energy. And so I'm feeling it under my hands, but sometimes I always I feel it in my body as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I
Um,
have goosebumps. I'm talking about.
so what I'm feeling under my hands is just feeling that energy fluctuation. So it might
Mm.
feel heavy, it might feel sluggish, it might feel stuck or blocked, it might feel like overactive, so it might be really, really fast and frantic or frazzled. It might feel like it's, hiding away from me, or it might feel like it wants to, it's coming out and,
Mm.
so it feels like that.
Yeah, so it can feel in many different ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so then when I'm feeling it as well, like I get a feeling of like an intuitive feeling of what I should be doing with this energy,
Mm.
that need to like be held and feel safe.
Hmm,
And if
hmm.
it will be released in its own, or it might need a bit of help. So, like it might feel really sticky and sluggish, and it might be
Mm.
like I'm pulling the energy out like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. And sometimes people need a bit of awareness around the energy in their body as
sure.
well. So sometimes I like to tell people, like just tune into this energy, like connect into this energy in your heart or your gut, right? Um, I want you to bring all of your focus and awareness to this energy in your gut, in your sacral
Mm.
chakra, which is down.
Yeah.
And just notice using all of your senses of your body what that energy feels like, looks like, sounds like, right? Because we are our body, we are made of energy,
Yes.
and our senses is how we experience the world. So we've
Mm.
got like feeling, touch, sight, sound, taste, smell, and our mind as well.
Hmm.
you know, our logical, analytical mind. So there are our senses of our body. So that's how we experience the world, how we receive information, and how we, you know, communicate our experiences back, you know, through our senses as well. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think it's so interesting knowing how it feels to you when you're working on people, you know. And I personally find that I feel like a lot of us are always in our head. And I feel like to get into being able to feel what's going on, to be able to sense things, we really need to come back into our body and into our heart space. And I feel like when we get out of our head, because there's so much chatter and thoughts going on, and focusing going into the body, into the heart, even that process can be really healing. And I'm assuming that's kind of the first step to being able to feel what's going on and energetically as well is going from the mind and back into the body.
Yeah. And, you know, when people come for a healing session or coaching session, like, it's always like, let's drop into your body, take some breaths, because we just forget to be in our body.
Yes, and even breathing properly.
Exactly. And when we have anxiety, right, we tend not to breathe. We're shallow breathing all the time, like a fish, like gasping for air.
It's like we have to consciously retrain ourselves how to breathe from our belly rather than our upper chest area. So yeah, that's even a process in itself. And even that's something I teach my clients to, you know, who suffer with anxiety and things like that. And I do myself, you know, before I see clients or have a meeting or do like a podcast, it's like always focus on the belly breathing, always focus on the belly breathing. And you find that you do notice that shift from you do notice that calmness that kind of goes over you when you focus on breathing in that way, even if it's just for like a couple minutes. So yeah, it's a really powerful thing.
Absolutely, it really is. It's like the number one tool of calming your nervous system is just to breathe. But we fight it, you know. I don't want to sit there and breathe. Why should I breathe? Like, you know, and there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to do the work, but the work is just breathing.
Yes. Well, that's like
that hard.
Yeah. Every time I see my mentor healer, she's like, you haven't been breathing properly. And then I like start yawning and she's like, yep, now you're getting better. You're starting to feel how tired you are. You're breathing properly. You're starting to yawn, like you're getting back into your body, you know? So it makes a world of a difference. Beautiful. So I wanted to, sorry, you go.
I have a couple of questions we wanted to ask.
Sure.
But, I wanted to ask you. So when you're working with gut health, and you know your work, like what diagnostic tools do you use?
Yes. So I definitely incorporate pathology testing in seeing clients if I feel like it's necessary. So typically I will ask, you know, when I see a new client for them to go get a general blood test. So, you know, like your B12, iron, cholesterol, blood glucose, you know, all those kind of general blood markers. I'll ask them to get that done. With gut health in particular, I will 99% of the time refer them for a microbiome stool test. And that, yes, that will provide us with so much information. So, you know, it really goes in depth, you know, how I spoke about the microbiome and inflammation and all that sort of stuff. So it will test things like how well your liver is detoxifying, you know, what level of inflammation you have in your colon. You know, if you've got, I'm not sure if you've heard of leaky gut, but it will test markers of if you have leaky gut. It will then go through all different more non-beneficial or pathogenic bacteria or microbes like parasites, bacteria, worms, fungus like candida, and you know it covers a whole range of non-beneficial microbes which can in some cases lead to, or a lot of cases lead to dysfunction or unpleasant symptoms. And then it will also go over, the good bacteria. So and different strains. So where are you sitting with the beneficial bacteria? And typically you'll find that people are lacking in the good bacteria and they have an overgrowth of the non-beneficial microbes. And because our good bacteria works as like a protective mechanism, when that's low, that allows the non-beneficial microbes to kind of take over and proliferate. So it's really in-depth testing. However, it is expensive, which is, unfortunate. I wish it was, I wish it didn't cost anything to get these tests. But however, I do find that they are so in-depth and they provide so much information that it really warrants getting them done, because then I can make the treatment as so specific and personalized to the client. So rather than doing a lot of trial and error, it really narrows down, okay, what do we actually have to work on? What dysfunction is occurring or imbalance? And then I guess there's always, like, for example, anxiety, there's different tests there, like hormone or gene mutations, which can, make you predisposed to anxiety. So, for example, the MTHFR gene mutation is one that predisposes people to depression, anxiety. So things like that, if I feel like it's necessary for the client, then that's something I will talk about with them. And then I guess the biggest one probably is the questioning. So sitting down, that's why the consults are so long. Sitting down, really getting to know them, asking all the different questions, because even just based off the questioning, I can usually create quite a good picture and map in my head as to what is going on. But the testing is just a good way to kind of confirm that and another piece of information to the puzzle sort of thing. But yeah, so questioning is probably quite a big one in creating that putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. Yeah.
So when you're asking the questions, like, is it like physical, mental, emotional? Like, does it have, or is it just simply physical?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything, really. I would say I'd say the first consult is probably more so focused on physical. However, as I kind of build a rapport with my clients and get to know them on a deeper level, I will start to kind of dive deeper into that emotional, spiritual side as well, because I do feel like with some people, they need a bit of time to build that relationship, build that trust, to be vulnerable and open in that way. But yeah, it will cover everything from what are your symptoms, what's occurring in other body systems, what's your personal medical history, what's your family medical history, what hobbies are you doing to support your mental health, what does your diet look like, how much sleep are you getting, do you drink alcohol, do you smoke, do you feel supported? Do you have good relationships? Like, do you live alone?
Balance.
Yeah. Do you live alone? Do you live with others? Like, so it's it really, or then I'll kind of also do a timeline and say when this started, when this, these symptoms started, was there something that happened in your life that was traumatic or stressful, or a big, did you go through a divorce? Did you finish high school? Did you, have a car accident? Was there something that happened at all that correlates with the timing of these events? So we really try and
true, like that's, timing, like there's always something that happens.
Yeah. And there's many times where clients have said, like, it all started when this, or it all started when I had glandular fever. It all started when I got COVID. It all started, it all started when something happened in their lives. So that usually gives us quite a good point as well as to a clue into what could possibly be going on as well. So yeah, trying to cover all bases, and then also more and more trying to add that spiritual side into it as well with my clients.
Yeah, beautiful.
I wanted to ask, so I know you started on a couple tips with the light, candlelight watching and the cloud watching. Is there any other, like, tips you have for people that they can also start utilizing just on a day-to-day basis? And I know we spoke about breathing, so I feel like that might have been one of them already, but yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So I do always say about body, breath, and balance. So
Mm-hmm.
like we're just talking about, like looking at all the different areas of your life and making sure that you have a really good balance. I guess it's like looking at a life holistically,
Mm.
and doing all those things, right? Making sure that you're eating well, you're getting enough sleep, you're getting enough water, you're getting enough support and fun things to do, yeah, like all of those things, right? That you feel safe, that you have a
Mm.
good home, that you have people around you who are, like loving and supportive,
Yeah.
that you are, you're growing in your life, that you're not stagnating, that, your finances are okay, like, you've got friends in your life. There's a good balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that soulful, like, picture as well, that you're you're filling your cup,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
So
Your soul
it
with
sounds,
those things that
yeah.
make you feel really good,
Yes, yeah.
satisfied and fulfilled is the right word.
Yes, yes.
And then, checking in with your body and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that the energy in your body feels good, and just noticing where it's feeling out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and using the breath as a tool to bring the nervous system back down. So that,
Mm-hmm.
always looking at those three things, like your body, your breath, and balance. Um, yeah, so using the breath, absolutely.
Beautiful.
It's
Yes,
so
yeah. Number one.
important.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
Beautiful.
is. Yeah, just
And
breathing. It's like
mm,
what, like just breathe, just breathe.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is so powerful. It's just a powerful thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And going back to what you said, how you mentioned, like, doing things that makes your soul happy, I often find, are you actually tired and exhausted, or are you actually not doing things that enlightens your soul and your heart? Like, are you actually doing things that really brings you true joy and lights you up? Do you know what I
That's
mean? Because
right.
that
Yeah.
that that's such a big thing. So it's like, are you actually tired, or are you living in a way that's not lighting you up inside, sort of thing? So that's another thing that I think is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, because what's the point of life?
Yeah, I
We're not
know.
doing those things that light us up and make us feel good and enjoy
Yes,
life. And
yes.
that yeah, it's perfect because when we feel stressed or anxious or
Mm,
overwhelmed, we do we tend to live in this survival mode, and we
mm.
forget to do the things that bring us joy,
I know.
that make us thrive,
Yes, we
right?
don't prioritize them.
Yeah. So, for me, it's like I love dancing. So you know, when I dance,
Mm,
I feel
I
amazing.
know. Yeah, yeah.
If I'm just in survival mode, I'm just plodding along, doing the things, doing my work, doing, this, I might forget to do it.
Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
it's just not prioritizing it. So making sure that we schedule in those things.
Mm, mm.
And we
Yes,
will forget.
definitely.
There'll be times when we just forget.
Definitely. And there's times where, it physically won't be possible, but it's like, okay, I had that period of time, that's over. Now I'm going to prioritize time for my soul and spirit and heart. So it's all about, we're never going to be perfect, we can't, but just being mindful and doing what you can.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's your tips, Rose?
I think, I guess in regards to maybe diet, because that's something I heavily focus on with my clients, is diet as well. to support gut health and anxiety, my top tips would be probably to support your microbiome. So that would be eating, a lot of your probiotic foods. My favorite is sauerkraut. So I'm Polish. So sauerkraut is something that's very heavily used in Polish cooking.
Yeah.
I know it's not for everyone, but I do urge my clients to at least give it a go. And some people love it. So
I love it in salad,
yeah,
but do you
yeah.
use it in cooking as well? Like,
Yeah, so I'll make like stews like with like beans and sauerkraut and like
oh,
hock,
wow.
or I'll make cabbage rolls with the actual fermented cabbage, like the sauerkraut leaves. I'll make Polish like cabbage rolls with them.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, so or like dumplings, sometimes we'll put cabbage in them. So yeah, it's used quite a bit. And I've never had any gut issues. So I think it's must be onto something. But yeah, so sauerkraut is probably my favorite probiotic. And then obviously, your Greek yogurt, natural yogurt, coconut yogurt, they're all wonderful as well. Kimchi is also a natural source of fermented vegetables, so that's also a wonderful source too. Um, with anxiety, the two most common things I probably see is women skipping breakfast or not eating regular meals. So, and then also not having a sufficient source of protein. So protein contains our amino acids, and our amino acids are what are those cofactors needed to create our neurotransmitters. So if we're, for example, skipping breakfast and then eating later in the day or eating irregularly, and we're having a high carbohydrate meal, or a simple sugar, just plain toast, or just a banana, or something that's just predominantly a carbohydrate based meal, and then not eating regularly, our brain can interpret that as a form of stress because we're not really nourishing our body correctly.
Wow.
And
That's just mind
also,
blowing.
yeah, yeah. And also it can spike our blood sugar. So when our blood sugar will go up, that can also trigger, emotional instability, increase the risk of feeling anxious, not feeling like you can cope with stress as well. So I find, for whatever reason, us women, we love to either skip breakfast or eat irregularly, or I know we love our carbohydrates, and obviously I love carbohydrates as well, but I think focusing on having a balanced meal with adding in some healthy fat and protein, and trying to eat a good breakfast that's going to set you up for a good day of regulating blood sugar, which will then reduce the likelihood of emotional outbursts and your nervous system feeling unregulated and things like that. So I'd say your probiotic foods, eating regular meals, and then trying to have a good source of protein and fats as well is going to be wonderful for mental health too. They're probably my top go-to tips that I find a lot of people, it's quite common for a lot of people. Yeah.
And I've noticed that fasting has become a bit of a phase at the
Yes.
moment as well. And yeah, I'm just watching some people.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I noticed
Yes.
myself, if yesterday I didn't take lunch with me. So I thought I was coming home for lunch, and then I end up coming home for lunch. But I always have snacks. I'm always
Yes.
food. So I had an apple and my nuts and some bananas, and I was eating them, and I was asking,
Yeah.
oh, that's right, I didn't have my lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do notice if I don't eat, I'll start getting shaky. My energy
Yes.
starts getting shaky, which is not great.
Yeah, and it even affects your cognitive function. Like you can get brain fog and things like that too. Or even the other night, Daniel and I, my fiance, we had a late lunch, and then it was dinner time, and I said, "Are you hungry?" And he said, "No." So I was like, "Okay, don't have to worry about feeding you right now." And then an hour later, we started arguing, and then he's just like, "I need to eat," and just stormed off. And I was like, "Excuse me, you're being rude. Can you stay and talk to me?" And then I was like, I just left him, he ate. then came back, and then he's just like, I'm sorry, I was really just hungry and I didn't realize it, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely can affect you.
Yeah, and the same if I have like sugar before bed,
Yeah.
like if I'm having like a treat on the weekend, like stayed up late, watching a movie or whatever,
Yeah.
and chocolate or whatever, and then in the morning, like I only noticed this when I was younger, and
Mm.
like I might go out because I don't really drink, but I would go
Hmm.
out and I might have a Coke to help keep me awake.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And I noticed the next day after I had a Coke, it was so full of sugar and caffeine,
Yeah.
I would have a hangover,
Oh,
like
wow.
a
Yeah.
sugar caffeine
Yeah.
hangover.
Yeah.
And so then I noticed as the years went on, like I don't drink Coke anymore, but
Yeah.
like now when I have sugar at night, I absolutely notice the next morning I've got a sugar hangover.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably find the more, as you take more of those processed foods out, you then become more sensitive when you do have them. You really see how much they affect you because you're not having them on that regular basis. So, yeah, that's really interesting that you've noticed that correlation with the Coke. So,
Yeah.
must definitely.
Also, like what I've noticed energetically, like
Mm,
when I eat food,
yeah,
um, I feel like that beautiful energy rising from my belly.
yeah,
Like when I'm really in tune with my energy and I sit down and have a good meal, I just
yes,
feel so good and happy. And I'm like,
yes.
oh my God, this is like almost
Yeah, I
the euphoric in my
know.
body.
It makes such a difference when you
Yeah,
really nourish yourself with the good foods and everything your body needs. It's like saying thank you.
yeah,
Thank you to yourself.
yeah.
Oh,
It'd be interesting to just for everyone to notice, like next time you sit down
yeah.
with food, like how do you feel after you eat your
Yeah,
food?
exactly.
Check in with your body. Do you check in with your energy? Like how
Mm,
does that feel after you eat, some really nourishing food, or how does it feel after you eat like this?
mm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's something we're not often taught on how to do to check in with ourselves. So I think creating that habit is so important with checking in with yourself with almost everything throughout the day, you know?
Absolutely.
Well,
Checking
I
in with
feel
our
like
feelings, our energy,
yeah.
our gut, our
Oh,
heart.
we're gonna have to go eat some lunch after this as well. Get
Yeah.
some food in. Well, I feel like we've had a really powerful conversation. I feel like we've spoken about some really valuable tips and topics.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing all your beautiful knowledge and wisdom that you have in the healing space and with Reiki. I think that we've briefly discussed we may do a few videos in the future on different topics that I know that we both are passionate about as well. So that might be something that happens in the near future as well.
So I just
But
wanted to say about, because we didn't mention at least about supplements for gut health, but if
oh,
or
sure.
herbs, but if people want to reach out to
Yes.
Rose, that they can ask her about that.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely. And there's some beautiful herbs, beautiful nutrients, all the wonderful things that can be really nourishing for the gut and the nervous system. Yeah. And I've actually had Tony was lovely enough to give me a free Reiki session. So I was able to experience that, and I've never had Reiki before, and I really found it incredibly powerful, and I could feel the energy just flowing. I felt like I was just vibrating on the table, like I could feel it. So that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And yeah, it was I really felt the effects of it and how lovely it was. But yes. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and hope you all have a lovely rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah. Bye, Rose.
Bye.